Hey everyone, Erin Zen Warrior here. I was posting and I had to restart because my car is a little bit possessed at the moment. I need to sort out what's going on with the cabling and the Apple CarPlay, but apologies for the fuzzy camera, about to have that fixed this week. Erin Zen Warrior signing in, do the whole like, follow, subscribe, etc. thing. So what I wanted to talk about was law of attraction. And I wanted to start with this post someone put up this morning that was shared about creativity being the antithesis of anxiety, and that if you want to get out of anxiety, you do more creative work. And actually, creativity is the antithesis of fear, anxiety, fight or flight, depression, everything. The more you practice creativity, the more you're going to practice being in flow, and the more you're going to allow things to come to you, because actually creativity is how you line up your frequency. And it's only when you're really lined up that you're truly at your most creative. And it's not a case of horse and cart. It's a chicken and egg scenario. What comes first? It doesn't really matter, right? So I went to a 5 Rhythms dance class today, which was super fun. And, you know, got to see people being creative and all that sort of stuff. One of the things I hate about 5 Rhythms is, and this is something Gabrielle Roth was very into, was the chatting at the end, because it gets people back into they've got to put words to it. I'm like, hang out with each other at the end, go for coffee, sit around, chill, have a picnic, enjoy the sunshine. Sounds great to me. Sitting around and talking about what happened for you in the dance, I'm like, how not to be in the moment is that, right? How to fuck with the creativity, in my opinion. But sometimes I stay, and today I had the cat with me, so I wanted to let him run around and everyone hang out with Rufus before I took him to the Domain with a friend for a walk. Photos to be posted later. And then a friend of mine got in touch and she said, friend and an ex-client, and she said, I have this friend who had this idea that she was going to attract this perfect guy on this perfect date, and everything was going to happen by a certain time, and then of course it didn't happen, and now she's been diagnosed with depression for the second time. I'm like, well, I think the diagnosis of depression is often a difficult one, not because depression doesn't exist, not because it's not debilitating, all of that's true, but because depression is a part of life, and it's actually very few people that have a real chemical imbalance that's actually what you would clinically call depression, versus people have the symptoms of that kind of imbalance and actually are just living life. And it can sometimes be depressing when you attach yourself into certain things, or you have stuff that you actually out there in the world that you would like to have work a certain way and it doesn't. And then it's depressing. Or, life can kick you, people can die, relationships end, all sorts of stuff. And it can be depressing as fuck. It can be suicidally depressing, So I do find the diagnosis of depression a difficult one. However, I do think it's interesting that she'd set up this very tight law of attraction principle, right? I'm going to meet this guy. He's going to be like this. It's going to be by a certain date, blah, 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 blah. Here's the problem with all of the law of attraction stuff that's ever hit any of the things out there. Now, some of it is very good. And if you really study it, great. But the problem is, much like human design, yoga, meditation, all of these great things that actually have a frequency that's worth tuning into, they often get perverted in the pop fad nature of things. And law of attraction is absolutely no different. Everybody decided that they want to get what they want to get, so they get very specific about it. I'm like, if you do any research into the law of attraction, you will understand that the more specific you are, the riskier it is on the density you can create around something and the way you can limit flow. That is, what I mean to say is, if you create something with such specificity, what's going to happen for you is that you're going to constantly be trying to grab for that specificity. And you're not actually going to allow the things that are moving to you towards exactly what you want to come in, because you've actually created a density. In order for the law of attraction to work, you must be able to speak into the microphone and drop it and walk away. And then shit lines up for you. Now, it doesn't mean you can't be specific, but it means you need to get really good at it before you can start getting specific. So you want to get general. She wanted a great guy. Don't we all want a great guy? You know, something I love while we're talking about attracting men, something I always loved was, you know, the Bob Marley thing. Love the one you're with, you know? And it's like, if you love the one you're with, if you drop into the frequency of being in love, it doesn't mean you can't ask for more. It doesn't mean you can't get more specific into what you want, right? But you love the one you're with because you practice the frequency of it. And while you're practicing that frequency, you can also practice the frequency of someone who's even more aligned to you, you know? But even in my requests for my alignment as to the kind of people I want in my life, not just partners, there's a lot of generalization there. You know, I keep it pretty broad and general. Why? Because there are so many cool people in the world. Why would I want to be so specific as to not be somewhat surprised by the magic that comes into my alignment, into my frequency? And so here's the thing with law of attraction. The first thing is you must get aligned with yourself, and you must become a magnetic frequency by lining up with yourself and by lining up with the things that you want, understanding what kind of magnetic frequency you're going to have to hold in order to attract it, that you become this magnet, right? And things can easily drop in. And then the second thing you want to be careful of is being aware of being too specific to the point where it creates a negative thought pattern in your head, right? Oh, I want tall, dark, and handsome. The next thing you see is only short, blonde men. And it's like, oh, well, why is that? It's like, well, because maybe you have some other thing in there that's like, oh, I never get what I want, right? And like, oh, I never get men that look the way I want them to look, or whatever. I mean, I'm being ridiculously superficial here, but I'm trying to make a point, right? You get very specific about what you want, and all of a sudden you don't get that at all. Possibly because you have a narrative that you don't deserve it, right? Or that it's never going to happen for you, or whatever that thing is. So you got to get more general, right? What kind of man would you like in your life? Someone that can meet you? That's general. I would love someone that can meet me. I would love someone that I have a great time with, that also wants to understand me and wants to communicate well, right? These are not big asks. It might seem like it sometimes, but these are not big asks, and they're very general. They don't require the man to be tall, dark, and handsome, or short, blonde, and fat, or any of these things. They don't get into the specifics of what he looks like. They get into the frequency. What kind of man is going to hold space for a dynamic woman like myself? It's going to be a dynamic man that holds his own presence, you know? That can be a lot of different people. It's not specific, right? And I don't even know what that looks like until I meet her. Even better. Right? Because then I've got to be open to actually checking things out and feeling it out and seeing what works for me and being in the joy of whatever does come in, you know. There's an old saying like, don't count your chickens before they've hatched. And I'm like, actually do, you know, count each little egg along the way as like a little win. It's like, oh, you're getting in more alignment. You're getting in more frequency. I've got to crack up about how many times you guys can hear the cat meowing in the background. He's very demanding, but I do have him stuck in the car right now, even though he's been out for a walk. So, you know, right now he's expressing what he would like, and he has no limit in his head as to what he's going to get. And he's absolutely going to get it because it's fucking annoying what he's doing, right? So, but because he's got no limit, because he doesn't have a density about what he deserves or doesn't deserve, Rufus gets what he wants, you know? And there are definitely moments where I've not gotten what I've wanted because I have believed they're always going to leave me. I have believed a $2,500 bill is a big deal. That's a poverty mindset. That's density on making your millions, right? And as you go along, you have to keep looking at these little eggs, you know, that come along that invite you to expansion, right? That $2,500 bill is an invitation to not see it as a big deal. Because as soon as you do that, you become like rich people who look at a $2,500 bill and go, ah, bugger, whatever. Like, because it's not a big deal, right? So a lot of people out there going, where is my money? Where is my money? I'm like, where is your density surrounding your money? Because I can tell you that's where your money is stuck. That's where mine gets stuck, you know. As soon as you get out of the way of that and go, all right, Laura, all right, universe, all of this shit is raining down on my head. I'm going to let you take care of it. And I'm going to trust because I got nothing else to do. Like, that's the best thing. When you really want something, the universe is going to invite you to it, but it isn't going to look pretty, right? You want money expansion, it is going to whop you with bills until you let go of your poverty mindset. That's actually a funny one, right? Or it's going to give you little dribbles of money until you realize you're thinking small, that you're relating money to what you deserve. It's got nothing to do with that. What you deserve and what you don't deserve is none of your business, right? And it's just duality bullshit. So the reason law of attraction is dangerous is because most of you are applying it with such specificity that you're proving it doesn't work. And what you're actually proving is that your density is in your own way. And all you have to do is get more general. If you take nothing from this, it's get more general. It doesn't mean don't ask for what you want. And it also means the other thing you can take from this is work on your frequency. Get in alignment, get creative, go dancing, swing a sword around, stand on your head, paint a picture, sing to music, get some singing lessons, play cards with your friends, have a game night, get into dungeon, whatever it takes. Be creative, build a business, invent something, spend time sketching pictures that never get used for anything. Who cares? Be creative, get in alignment, eat better, look after your health, go to the sauna and sweat it out, run around the park and shake it off until you can't think anymore. Whatever it takes to get your density in your stupid head out of your fucking way. And trust me, if you do that, you are going to see that things start lining up. Maybe not as quickly as you would like, but who are you to put a timeline on existence? As soon as you do that, like this girl did with this guy she wanted, she created a density that the closer she got to that date, the more anxiety she was going to have. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? He was probably already there, you know. Have a great day. Erin Zen Warrior signing out. Please like, comment, do all the things. And I would show you Rufus, but this camera just seems to be getting worse and worse. So next week when I have a better camera, bye. He's eating biscuits in the car right now.